Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the studio. This week we have a short excerpt of a longer Patreon exclusive video. So if you want to watch the full video and many more like it, head over to my Patreon page, patreon.com/Eirik Arnesen. There's a link in the description below the video. I feel like I say this whenever we venture on to sculpting a new part, but arms must be one of the hardest things for people to sculpt well. For a couple of reasons. Arms are very narrow in the scale, and no matter the scale, they are more narrow than any other part of the body. Because of this, you have very limited time to figure out where the contours need to be placed in space before you arrive at the overall width of the arm. Because of this, some knowledge helps when it comes to sculpting arms, as we won't need to guess so much. As there is little time to work towards discovery, it's best if we go into sculpting arms with a little bit of prior knowledge. First off, arms have a tendency to work themselves loose from the armature. So before beginning, I apply a thin layer of clay to the armature and make sure it sticks really well to the wire. Often enough, arms dry out fast and crack as well, which is a tough thing to deal with. This is made worse if the clay is not properly attached to the armature, as water is going to work its way between the clay and the armature and weaken the bond further. Then your arms will rotate on the armature as you work, which is very annoying of course. So apply some thin clay and let it sit for a few minutes so it hardens up a little bit and gets good purchase on the armature wire. Then apply your contours over the top of that. I like to know where the beginning and end of my contours are going to be. This helps me break down the different length of the different angles in the contour. And at the beginning here, we obviously have the shoulder, but the bottom, we don't really know where it is. I work from inside out and from one truth to the next. So my first move is going to be to find the elbow, considering I know where the shoulder is. To do so, I look at the arms and find the elbow on the arm which has the cleanest visual connection to the body. If my arms are raised above the head, I would probably begin with sculpting the head before the arms. Here the arm is hanging by the side of the body, and so I can sculpt them without the head, as they have no clear relationship with the head. One of the elbows line up nicely with the tilt of the box. I observe this from the back view. With the length from the shoulder to the elbow established, I can transfer it over to the other arm, as both arms need to be the same length. With the distance from shoulder to elbow established, I can figure out where my hand is going to sit. And by doing so, double checking if everything lines up the way it needs to. Shoulder to elbow should be fairly similar to elbow to knuckles. If this means the hand will be placed in the same vicinity as the hand on my model, then I'm good to go. If not, then I need to retread some steps and check if the length from shoulder to elbow was correct to begin with. With some landmarks established, I can begin to sculpt the contours with confidence. For the upper arm, there's a few things I need to keep in mind. Where is the elbow aiming would be one. It makes a big difference if the elbow is aiming directly backwards versus slightly inwards towards the body, because the biceps travel from the inside of the shoulder to the inside of the elbow, of course. So it can rotate depending on where the position of the elbow is. The contour of the biceps can now pretty easily be pulled from the shoulder down towards the elbow. The biceps is quite narrow, and when looking directly at it, it's actually not going to be the contour of the arm. What you want to avoid when it comes to arm is the dreaded tube arm. In order to avoid this, you must pay close attention to planes. Personally, I find this an easier concept to understand and to implement if you think of it in terms of anatomy. The triceps in the back is wider than the biceps in the front. This is true on the outside of the arm as well as on the inside, when looking directly at the biceps from the front. Just like with the legs, you want to stagger the high points in the contour of the arms so that the eye travels easily up and down the arms. Not only does this help the eye travel, but it also is the nature of the arm. The high points in real arms are staggered. So for example, from the side view, the high point of the biceps sit much lower than the high point of the triceps. When moving into the lower arm, the high point on the back of the hand side of the lower arm muscles sit higher than those on the palm side. This week we have a short excerpt of a longer Patreon exclusive video. So if you want to watch the full video and many more like it, head over to my Patreon page, patreon.com/Eirik Arnesen. There's a link in the description below the video. Always look for these staggered high points and avoid placing the high points vertically across from each other, which is what our natural desires is to do. In order for us to have a common vocabulary, let's simplify things a little bit. When the arm is hanging by your side, the muscles on the outside of the lower arm pull the knuckles towards the elbow. In the same position, the muscles on the inside of the arm pull the palm of the hand towards the elbow. This is grossly simplified, but in order to communicate more easily, I will from here on out refer to the muscles of the lower arm this way, as the muscles on the inside of the lower arm and the muscles on the outside of the lower arm. The lower arms have the potential to be very interesting, but to me, this largely depends on the position of the hand. I prefer to have the hand rotated to make the muscles of the lower arm rotate as well. On the figure's left arm, this is quite apparent as the back of the hand is facing forward while the elbow is facing backwards. Think of the upper and lower arm like a chain link fence, with the two links facing in different directions. When the top of the wrist and the inside of the arm are both visible from the same view, then we have a rotating arm. The figure's right arm has its wrist at about 90 degrees compared to the elbow. So the rotation here is not as extreme, but it's still there. This is in contrast to an arm where the inside of the wrist is facing the same way as the inside of the elbow, which leaves us with a very stiff pose and a lot less gesture. The lower arms can be very tricky and confusing. There are some simple tricks, however, to help organize things in your head a little bit easier. The muscles on the outside of the arm, those responsible for pulling the knuckles towards the elbow, are aimed towards the thumb side of the hand. The muscles on the inside of the lower arm are aimed towards the pinky side of the hand. Keep this in mind when the lower arm is rotated like it is here in my sculpture. Remember how we made sure the shoulder integrated into the body earlier? Same thing goes for the lower arm into the upper arm. The muscles on the outside of the arm, specifically the brachioradialis muscle, reach up onto the upper arm, above the elbow actually. And this kind of secures the connection between upper and lower arm visually, and it's a really beautiful and striking feature on most people, so it's something I would really take advantage of. I hope you enjoyed the video. As I said at the top, this is an excerpt of a longer Patreon exclusive video, part 8 of my Patreon exclusive video series. So, if you want to see more, support the channel, or get feedback on your own work, then check out my Patreon page. There's a link in the description below the video. Thank you for watching, stay creative, and I hope to see you in the next one.